Hi. Thank
Oh,
you.
it is so good to see you, Toby. You have a
I
little
know it seems
introduction. Oh, what's
an
that?
age. It's been an age.
It's been way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. But you have a little introduction, so hold tight. Here we go. The way you look tonight. As you say in your book, Toby, it's a song that evokes romance. It makes us tear up and reminds you of all the 800 plus brides and grooms that you have watched glide across a dance floor, imagining and hoping that their first steps as husband and wife go well and a sign of good marriage to come. A huge romantic at heart, Toby, now retired from being a wedding and event planner, has now had the most successful career spanning nearly 30 years. With a huge heart, her skill and aptitude for artfully solving wedding challenges and her understanding of families and their cultural and ethnic diversity has made her an industry leader for over 20 years. She's trained and mentored over 50 aspiring wedding planners, and she holds the coveted designation of a CSEP, a Certified Special Event Professional. So with much respect due to this lovely lady, I am thrilled to chat with her today on the show. Please welcome the always wonderful Miss Toby Dodge.
Oh, well, great. Thank you.
Ah, you're welcome. I could just listen to this song all day, couldn't you?
Yes, yes.
It,
It was very reminiscent of first dance songs and songs, that bands would try and get everybody up on the dance floor. So sure.
it's
Yeah.
a clear winner, isn't it, that song? Getting people on the dance floor after dinner, they're ready, to dance to that. It's so romantic. And can I just say, I loved reading your book. The Other Side of the Aisle, Reflections on Life, Love, and the Business of Brides. It truly is such a beautiful book, Toby.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It was actually a 10-year project, trying to write that.
10 years.
As I mentioned, I think in the preface, Jeff Ames, who was a DJ and music specialist, wanted to write a book, and he didn't want to do it alone. And we were very good, close friends. And he says, "Why can't we do it together?"
Yeah.
And I said, "But, our personalities are so different." He says, "Well, yeah, that's what the chemistry is." And so I said, "Okay." And we met every Monday for several months, and we had at least about 3 chapters done, and we sent it out to 2 different editors.
Yeah.
They came back, and boy, were they brutal.
Oh, no.
And they said, "Well, Toby, your voice isn't strong enough." And they told Jeff, "You're too negative. You're funny heck, but you're too negative." And, it was just, what are we going to do? And long story short, Jeff, after a couple of months, called me and said he wasn't feeling well. And he had chest pains.
Yeah. Oh.
At the event. And it turned out when they took the x-rays, they found lung cancer.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And
So
so
sorry.
obviously our plans changed. But I would never have gone on to finish the book, even though it was not a he said, she said kind of book. It was basically an instructional, I like to think of it as an instructional memoir.
Yes.
Family and couples that are getting married. But I would never have started if it hadn't been for that.
Wow. And I love that you dedicate like the first the preface to him and telling the story of him and how much he was involved in this, and it wouldn't have happened if it hadn't probably have been for him.
Absolutely.
I love that. Your love for your vendors comes across so deeply in this book, which I really love. It's so beautiful and it's so gently written. It's got your heart all over it. And what I didn't realize was, and which was so unexpected, and what I really loved was the beginning first few chapters is your love story. And I didn't know your love story. And it's all about you and how you met your husband, Bill. And I loved that. And I love that Bill's a musician. I think that's fabulous.
Well, in truth, he is both a musician and a wedding singer.
Yes, you married the wedding singer. Is Bill there? Can we see Bill?
Oh, it was. And even through our story, I share the ups and downs of finding love. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You know, there are sometimes family challenges, sometimes, you know, there are children involved. And so in writing these stories, each story, even though it seems very unique, it really tries to show different situations that is, I think, very relatable to what people go through when they're planning a wedding. And especially today, it doesn't matter if it's small or large, and if you have a lot of money or not. There are always issues, family issues.
Always.
There are.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are changes with venues and people that decide, you know, they can't work with you for whatever reason. And so, you know, I wanted to write an inspiring book about love underneath it all, because that's what is the theme.
Through line, is all about love, no matter how rocky, whatever.
And also how if everyone in this industry didn't really have the best motives for their clients and their colleagues, there just wouldn't be an industry like we have.
No.
And we are very interdependent on each other. Sure, there are squabbles and there are differences, but when we all come together, that's what makes the magic.
Oh my gosh.
It does. And I have great respect and reverence for the industry at large and the people that I worked with. And it all wouldn't happen if people didn't want to fall in love.
Right. Right. I mean, you gave
official somewhere.
Yes, and have a celebration and celebrate it. I mean, you give me so much hope because you were, you know, later on in life when you met Bill and you had 2 children, and it just gave me hope that there is, no matter what age you are, there is somebody out there for you who will love you, and you just have to wait, and it will happen when it's meant to happen. And it's unexpected when it happens. You actually met on a wedding, didn't you? He was playing in the band and you were the planner.
Yeah.
Everything was going wrong with the wedding.
I know, but fortunately, hopefully no one realized.
No, only you. But he was watching you and how you dealt with the situation.
Right. And that's what I'm trying to say, how serendipitous life is sometimes. Because if everything had gone perfectly, I don't think, well, I'd like to think, I should say, Bill would have noticed me anyway. But he saw how I was working through things, and he just mentioned to the band leader, well, that's the kind of gal I could go for. And if it hadn't have been for the band leader to approach me after and ask me, I don't know what would have happened. No, I don't think Bill would have approached me I don't really think so.
No.
And so it took literally a little bit of a village
To make it
to
happen.
get us together.
Do you find though that when you are the wedding planner, because you are in charge and you have the book and the earpiece and everything, that we can come across as a little bit scary and kind of unapproachable for people? That's what I found. Even though we can be lovely and strong, it's a little frightening for people.
Well, it can be for some. However, I was so fortunate, and maybe it was because I was a little older than the average planner when I got started. I started at age 40. And so I was that aunt,
Yeah.
favorite aunt that comes and helps out. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I think, I was viewed. So in doing that, I want to tell everybody that it doesn't really matter what age you are either when you want to enter an industry. If you're true to yourself and you present yourself the way you are, you will connect with
Yes.
people. One of the biggest compliments I got from a videographer said, I hadn't worked with you before, and it's like you're part of the family.
Ah.
In watching how I was interacting with them.
Yeah.
Now, that was maybe my persona. That doesn't mean that another planner should model that. I just think that that's an example
Yeah.
of what worked for me. And
yeah.
everyone chooses or selects to work with their team or their families because it's a good match and complement each other. So there are times, and I say this with such adoration for couples, when perhaps their parents were far away, some in different countries even. So I was kind of that leveler,
Yeah.
the person they could come that they thought had some wisdom and they could trust.
Yes.
And I think it always boils down to that. There are some relationships that are very almost like a transaction where they're really looking for someone for how it's going to look and the prestige that's going to bring to their event. And you know what? If that's what they're centering on, and they're willing to take care of the emotional side, great, it'll work out.
Yeah.
There are times that I took care of both sides of the fence, so to speak.
Yeah, those are my favorite clients.
That's true. Because when you're able to be a part of that creative process, well as supporting the family personally, you have such a strong bond that is created that it is really hard to say goodbye sometimes.
It is, isn't it? I sometimes get very tearful, and on my way home, if I'm really connected with the couple, I will sob. I always call my mom on the way home after a wedding because it's early morning England, and sometimes I'm very emotional because I love this family so much and I get withdrawals.
Well, I have to tell you, the first 2 years, I just did literally the ceremony, the rehearsal, a meeting, and a timeline, because I was just learning the ropes. And I did quite a few weddings for Temple Aliyah and Calabasas because they were close by and I was introduced to them, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I remember one evening especially, it was such a emotional time because the groom was a refusenik from Russia.
Oh, yes, I love this story. Yeah.
That was the story. Boy,
yeah.
story.
Oh, tell the story because it's fascinating.
And so here, I didn't really know